staring at me. And I'm watching her walk. And she sits down, just staring at me. And after about 30 seconds, she starts crying. Tears just start flowing down her face. And she said to me, she said, Chris, she said, you know you died last month on the operating table. And I said, yeah. I said, the doctors told me I did. And then she said, did they tell you that you had a face-to-face encounter with Jesus Christ himself? I almost fainted. I said, yeah. I said, as a matter of fact, they did. But they couldn't tell me what he had to say. Do you know what he had to say? She said, oh yeah. She says, I got the whole thing. I said, well, let's have it. She said, Chris, I'm going to tell you what happened. But first I need to tell you this. When you came to see me last year, and I told you you had cancer and you were going to die, she said, that was it. She said, that was your life. She said, you're not supposed to be here right now. She said, that's important and I want you to know that. And I didn't know I'm just taken away with all that. I said, okay. She says, now I'm going to tell you what happened and why you're still here. I said, please do. She said, Chris, when you left your body, she said, you screamed out at the top of your lungs that you were sorry if you'd ever hurt anybody in any way while you were visiting Earth. And I'd had problems with Vietnam. And anyway, she said, you yelled it out with so much emotion and so much conviction that you startled everybody that was around you. And he happened to be standing right there. And he walked over to where you were to see what all the commotion was about. She said, Chris, you jumped in front of him and you didn't have any idea who you were talking to. She said, you just started running your mouth like you're prone to do. And you told him that you had cancer and you were getting a big government check now every month and you'd never have to go back to work again, and you weren't ready to die. You wanted to go back and have some fun. She said, Chris, you got him to laughing. She said, you got everybody to laughing. She said, Chris, Jesus Christ reached over right then and touched you and instantaneously cured you of your cancer and sent you back to your body. She said, you are now going to live for another 26 years. She said, you're going to tell a lot of people what I'm telling you here today. And she says, none of them are going to believe you. She said, well, I believe you because I know it's true. And she said, you want to know what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life? And I said, sure. Why? What? She said, Chris, you're going to spend the rest of your life helping other people who have had similar problems in life that you've had. And then she's smiling from ear to ear and she said, you want to know why you're going to do that? I said, sure, why? She said, because that's all you want to do. And I'm here to tell you today, that was 10 years ago, so I figure I got 15 more years. I've gone back to school, I've gotten a master's degree in social work, and I do volunteer social work, and I try to tell other cancer patients, that I've got a letter from Duke, and I've got one from a doctor, chief oncology of the VA in Richmond. I've got it right there in my briefcase, as a matter of fact, saying that there's absolutely no possibility of my being cured. Hey, do I have news for those guys? Jesus Christ healed me. And I believe that to my soul, that He touched me and He healed me. And that's it.